What I want to do is I'm going to try to protect you and your businesses today by showing you how much information is out there and how it can be compromised to work against you. There's so much information about you on the internet that most people don't even realize what's available. So today I'm going to use myself as a guinea pig. I did a search. I'm going to show you what I was able to find just searching myself. Now, I've already told you my name is John. My full name is John Gary Iannarelli. This is my date of birth that I found. This is my social security number I found. This is my work phone number, my former work number with the FBI. This is my credit card number. I would appreciate if you'd put your pens down. I see a lot of you writing. This is my passport number, my Arizona driver's license number, my personal email address, my business email address. This is where I live. Looking up property records, able to find my house right in Anthem. So, if you're dealing with somebody, do you really know who they are, or is it just the information they got off the internet? The question is, do you know me based on what I just said? Let me give you a little more information going farther, showing you how much I was able to find. So, my father's name, my mother's name, my ex-wife's name. I had enough information to get in my Netflix account, pulled up some of the movies I've read, watched. See a pattern here, anyone? All right. Had enough information to get into my iTunes, music I've downloaded. In my Amazon account, I found the books that I've read, or I like to tell people I've read. And of course, my personal favorite. No, actually, I haven't gotten that one yet. So, magazines I subscribe to. I work for the FBI. You'll find 1,000 hits on that alone in a Google search. I've been shopping for a car. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the new car I'd like to drive. That's the car I do drive. So, the question is, do you know me? Well, the reality is, I am whoever I tell you I am if you're just meeting me for the first time. There is so much information out there, and essentially there's 8 key personal pieces of information. I can go on the internet and grab all of this information and use it to my advantage. I can use it in the physical world by making up fake identifications, and I can use it in the virtual world. It was not uncommon in the FBI. We would come across victims who had millions of dollars in mortgages in their name because somebody dug up their information and used it. When you start looking, you can find anything you want to find, from birth records, work history, all the way through death and everything in between. It is all out there. If you know where to look through the search engines, looking in directories, social networking, which we're going to talk a little about, all of this is out there and relatively easy to search to find information that can be used against you or to victimize another person. Now, I throw up just a couple of websites here. If you take a look at this, these are all free, places you can go and search yourself. If you've never Googled yourself before, give it a try. There is a lot. You will be surprised at what's out there. I will tell you, you can actually opt out if you so choose to do that. You can contact utility companies, etc., and all the other organizations and saying, hey, I don't want my information on the internet. Problem is, it's an uphill battle. They update constantly. They're always renewing. You'd be making it a full-time job just trying to opt out. So recognize you can't do everything. It's virtually impossible to disappear. And also, as you know, you got to have a history to have a credit record. So you need to be able to be out there and establish yourself. So do what's reasonable. Be careful about what you yourself put on the internet through social media, etc. But recognize you can always be found, so obscurity is not security for you. Now, your information's stolen, someone's compromised your credit card, etc. This is the street sale of prices when things like that have been compromised. You lose your credit card, it's a big deal. It's going to take you a lot of time to recover and fix everything. Yet, when I steal your credit card, I sell it out on the street, I get about 40 cents for your credit card. Why is that? Well, reality is I'm not stealing your credit card. I'm stealing them by the tens of thousands, and I'm reselling them to other people who will use them. When you look at, say, the Target breach, for example, and all the tens of thousands of credit cards that were taken, there's a lot of money to be made. So you want to be careful in protecting this information. As a footnote, too, if you don't if you don't want your business to be a victim, don't name your business Target, but that's just a suggestion. So, all right. How vulnerable is your computer? You go, you get a brand new computer for work, you take it out of the box, you set it up. How long before somebody tries to hack into that computer? Any guesses? I hear a couple of days, I hear a couple hours. It takes about 5 minutes. And what happens is the minute you plug into the internet, somebody's going to be pinging your computer to try to get into it. So when you buy a computer, all that antivirus software and everything else, don't hook it up and download it off the internet. Get it on the computer first, because once you plug in, without that software in place, it's already too late. This is significant business. Last year, we had about $3.4 billion in fraudulent transactions here in the US, another $52 billion in just credit card fraud alone. Companies, we had about 56 companies lose almost $9 million each, and one company lost $46 million. That doesn't even include all the small and medium-sized business, which is where hackers are looking at. Why? Targets and other places like that have learned their lesson. They're more secure. They're going after the little guy who doesn't have as much money to put security in place, so you have to do what you can to try to protect yourself. Yet despite all these problems, more than half of companies say they're defenseless. They haven't even thought about the cyber problem that's out there. I will tell you, if you're going to be robbed, it's going to be on the internet. That is the way things are occurring in the 21st century. So let's talk about some of the crimes that are out there. You always hear about identity theft. I will tell you, identity theft is not a crime. I can go dig up your information, have it all for myself. As long as I don't do anything illegal with it, that's perfectly fine. It's what you do with it that makes it a crime. And it's a significant crime. In the United States, we're running about $50 billion a year in losses from identity theft alone. Now think about it in the terms of 9/11. We just honored the anniversary of 9/11 last week. During 9/11, they talked about the billions of dollars of losses from the buildings that came down. Well, we're having a virtual 9/11 in this country every single year from identity theft. That's money that's not being put back into the infrastructure. That's money no one's paying taxes on. And that's money that somebody has to make up the shortfall. Who does that? It's you and me. We have to pay for all that. By cutting back on the losses, by protecting yourself, you're helping to cut back on identity theft. Now, how does identity theft occur? A lot of it is through phishing. And in the cyber world, phishing is exactly like it sounds. It's someone who's phishing out there looking to troll for your information and find it. A lot of this phishing is done on social media. So if you've got a Facebook account or something like that, think about how much personal information you're putting out there. I have a Facebook account. If you go to my Facebook account, you will see I have a birthday. It's not my real birthday. I'm not going to put my name, my hometown, and my birthday out there, which is enough information to give somebody a credit card application. So if you look around on Facebook, you'll see a lot of people have January 1st as their birthday. That's because they don't want to put their real birth date out there. So you want to think about when you're doing LinkedIn and social media, which is the way we communicate today, be careful of how much information you're giving so that somebody doesn't compromise you. This is a phishing attack. For those of you who may be familiar with USAA, the bank, that's an email scam that was sent out to USAA customers. Actually, it was sent to a lot of people, but many people will be USAA customers and answered this scam. If you look closely, you'll see it's poor grammar. Granted, they're affiliated with the government, but you would think the grammar would be a little bit better. There's some misspellings that are in there, and also there's problems with the email address you're supposed to click on. No one, no legitimate business will ever contact you and send you an email saying, click on this link and update your password and other things like that. If you ever get an email like that, just delete. It's a scam. In the FBI, we received on average about 21,000 complaints a month from victims of internet crime like this. Those are the people who were victimized, were aware they were victimized, and took the time to make a complaint. You can imagine how many others out there. This is a big, big business. Even more than phishing is spear phishing, and this is the kind of thing that will actually attack you more likely. Spear phishing is when somebody specifically targets you as an individual. They take the time, they go to LinkedIn or whatever is out there, they go to your website, they look up different things on your website so they know a little bit about you, and they then send you an email that looks legit because they're speaking to issues that are germane to you. What they do then is it's actually just another link they want you to click on to get your personal information. This one was in Arizona. Somebody sent out a scam. There's a warrant for your arrest. It went out to about 15, 20,000 recipients. It looked legit because of the information that was in it. Out of the 15, 20,000, 1,800 people actually responded to it. Now think about this in terms of your business. If you could get an 18% response on your attempting to find new clients, that's phenomenal. Again, the government, if there's a warrant for your arrest, we're not going to send you an email. We are happy to pick you up. We will give you a ride. So, if it looks bad, it probably is. Cashier's check, fraudulent cashier's checks. This is one of the things that can be very susceptible to your business, and it is extremely common. Probably the most common scam we have going on. Pretty standard stuff. You're advertising something or you're engaged in a business transaction with somebody. You get an email or whatever communication that they want to close the deal. You agree on a price that we're going to close the deal for. They go ahead and send this cashier's check, but the cashier's check is for much more money than the deal was for. So they ask you, hey, keep what's yours, but could you do me a favor? I need that money. Wire it back to me as soon as you can. You go down to the bank, you deposit that cashier's check. Now, if you're like me, you probably remember the time when you had to wait 10 days for a check to clear before you could do anything with it. Banking business is competitive, so they will honor the check right away as a courtesy to give you funds. They want to keep your business. Well, the reality is you've walked away thinking the check's good, but actually the check was a bad check. 10 days later, when the check's bad, the bank contacts you. You're liable for the amount that was taken out of your account and have to pay that back to the bank because it wasn't your money, it was the bank's money. Meanwhile, the crook got away with the money that you forwarded to him. If you get a cashier's check, they may look real. Wait until you contact the bank and they tell you that check has actually cleared. Ransomware is another thing we're seeing here in Arizona. You may have seen that little icon there at the bottom pop up. Your computer's been infected with a virus, or you get some sort of message like that. What it is somebody out there who's actually contacting you to download malware. They want you to click and go forward to run that scan. It's not scanning anything. It's putting a virus on your computer. Once that's downloaded, then suddenly the purchase price pops up, and they will say, well, we can clean this off for $59. However, in the cases of businesses as opposed to individuals, a lot of times they'll say, hey, your entire computer system's been infected. We'll clean everything off for $10,000, and if you don't pay, you lose all your information in 3 days. So think about that for your business. What would you do if you could no longer get at anything in your computer system? It's a good time to think about on-site or off-site back-off, either one where you're backing up the information you have and you're keeping a record of anything so that if something does happen, you can retrieve it later on. This way, you don't have to pay the hacker to get what you need, and most times the victims wind up paying because even if we get involved, they're off in a third world country, they have control of your system, there's nothing we're going to be able to do to resolve it before your information disappears. So, who are these bad guys that are doing all this? Let's talk about the hackers that are out there and who's committing these crimes. A good part of them are kids. They're young kids who are just fooling around, trying to see what's out there. Some of them are hobbyists. They're people that enjoy computers and want to see what they can do. There are the experts that write malware and try to come up with programs to destroy your computer. And then there's the state specialists. These are the folks that actually work with foreign countries that target private business. They're not just interested in government secrets. They're interested in the private sector because if you can bring down our economy, you've won the war already. You look at North Korea and their attack on Sony. Remember that just a couple of months ago? So Sony lost millions of dollars. It wasn't a sophisticated attack. They sent an email. It was a phishing scam. Someone in the company clicked on the phishing scam. 40,000 people are now locked out of their computers. Hundreds of millions of dollars. Now, you may have heard that North Korea lost their internet access for a few days after that. I have no doubt that was the US government firing a shot across the bow to let them know. But Sony lost $400 million. What did North Korea? 7 people couldn't get on Facebook for a couple of days? So, you've got to protect yourself and make sure you're keeping yourself safe. A lot of people approach me after these types of lectures and say, I don't understand. How are they targeting my computer? Think of it in the terms of a telephone. You dial a number, you know you're going to get the person on the other end. It's the same thing with a computer. You have a specific IP address, an internet protocol address. And just like the phone numbers, they have their own white pages. You can look numbers up. So if I dial an IP address and I want to target a business, I can go right to a specific business by finding out what that number is in public records. So, some of the things you have to think about. Public Wi-Fi. Checked in the hotel last night. They had public Wi-Fi. You could use it in your room. There was no password. Problem is, what about the guy in the room next to me? I don't know if he's a crook. Is he sniffing, which is a way of looking on the internet for open nodes, things that are not password. If he's sniffing, he can then look at everything that's on my computer because nothing's password protected. So I never use open Wi-Fi. I use my cell phone and I use that as my Wi-Fi when I need to check in. You could set up a private virtual network. That way you can communicate and everything's encrypted. But anything that's an open Wi-Fi, you want to be careful about. I have lived in Arizona for 10 years now, and my next door neighbor has an open Wi-Fi. He's never passworded it. So 2 things. Number one, I haven't paid for internet in 10 years. And 2, he's putting himself at risk because somebody can come and look at anything that's going on. As a footnote, he had known I was in the FBI and worked with computers. He had a computer problem. He asked me what to do. And I said, well, we've got to move it closer to my house, first of all. And the reception's great. So this looks like an ordinary phone charger, but what it actually is a sniffing device. Open it up. So if I walk into your office or the hotel here and just plug it in the wall, oh, free charger. Yet it's picking up anything on an open Wi-Fi that somebody's using. So you never know what's out there. The technology is great on ways to spy on you. As is this magazine from Forbes. Forbes put this out. It's a regular edition, but they actually put a Wi-Fi router in this magazine. It has about a month-long battery life. I walk into a lobby of a business and just drop it down. I can pick up anything anybody's doing in that office area in an open Wi-Fi. Battery dies or somebody takes the magazine, I could just go in and drop down another one. You want to be careful about not necessarily searching for these devices, making sure everything you're doing is passworded. Smartphones. Who has the Android here? Who uses the Android? Show of hands. Say a handful. You're all iPhone people, aren't you? Well, I will tell you, Android's a great phone, but it's the most targeted phone out there. And the reason being is it works on a PC system, which is 90% of all computers in this country. We had over 3 million stolen alone, but aside from that, it's very easy to hack into them because the software is exactly the same that you use to hack into a PC computer. Think about what you have on your phone. You've got your contact lists, you've got all sorts of information for banking if you're doing online banking, all those things. Also, it syncs with your work and home computer, which means if I can infect malware on your phone, I can put it on your computer at work and at home as well, so that way I can take whatever information you have in those places. Another threat to think about is when you travel. I'm going to run this video here. We sent an FBI agent to China, posed as a regular businessman, nothing fancy. It'll go. It takes about 10 seconds. There it is. It's running. In the back, it's running. So you'll see, you heard the doorbell ring. What happened is they filed our businessman out, and then they come in to clean the room. But you can see what happens. Now, I'll tell you, the Drury Inn's great, but I did not get that kind of cleaning service this morning. So they came in, they copied everything that was paper, they copied everything on the hard drive, and he was posing as just a regular businessman, nothing fancy or important. Think about it when you go to these conferences or elsewhere. Are you leaving information around that maybe your competitors would want? Something to be careful about. We see it all the time overseas. It's very important if you ever travel. But wherever you go, you want to be careful and keep control of everything you have.